Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're so glad that you're here today. Each of you are actually in a key stakeholder role to make a difference and to help close the workforce gap that we have in our country. And so we're really glad that you could make it. So I am going to share my screen so we can get started. Today, we're focusing on how to recruit employees and also students. What are the tools and the strategies that we have for you today for the residential heat pump water heater, home performance, and energy efficiency fields? And I really have to give a big thanks to PNNL because none of this would have happened without their support. And with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Jamie Kono from Pacific Northwest National Lab.
Thanks, Deb. Hi, everyone. I'm so thankful that you all are here, same as Deborah. And just wanted to give a bit of context. I work at Pacific Northwest National Lab. Myself and my team support different workforce development efforts being done by the U.S. Department of Energy. So we help develop and disseminate resources and recognition from the DOE, including on the Building Science Education website, this one, bsesc.energy.gov, where there's different open source, completely free to access and use instructor resources on heat pumps and clean energy technologies, as well as the Energy Skilled Recognition Program, which recognizes training programs that include the very modern technology topics and align with US DOE decarbonization goals. All while we're doing this, I hear all the time that recruitment and workforce shortage are a huge priority for instructors, for contractors, from other industry organizations. So I'm really excited that we can share some of the recruitment resources, this wonderful recruitment toolkit that US Partnership and BPI have put together, as well as some great resources from the PATHS program, another DOE program. So with that, I'll pass it back to Deborah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And thanks, Jamie, for all of the ways that you've contributed to the success of these materials. So I just want to clarify before we go any farther, the purpose of today. So we're really here to give you gifts, right? We are gift givers for you and for your networks. Those gifts will do what? Well, those gifts are going to help you and your networks to get more students. You need to train students in this area so that they can have a great career where these materials help you get more students. They also help you get more employees. You're ready to hire, then use these materials and you'll get more and better quality people coming in your door and connecting with you to be an employee. And then also to enhance the diversity and the inclusion of underrepresented groups. So the purpose of today is to help with all of that, not just for you, but also for your networks. And the goal is that you'll share these gifts internally in your organizations and then externally with your networks. So with that kind of context in mind and that ask of you and why you've been invited here, we've created this toolkit with all of these complementary resources. They're very practical. So I've spent 42 years as an educator in these fields and also owned a wholesale and retail company that did this work. I know how precious your time is. And so these resources are incredibly practical and they can be freely used and customized and branded by your organizations and your networks of organizations to be used throughout the US. That's what we've got for you today. This is probably the most important slide that I'm going to show you all day. And Sarah's going to put these links into the chat. Please copy them from the chat and put them someplace where you'll use them tomorrow. The first link goes directly to our landing page where all the recruitment materials are, and it has a share the toolkit button that you can click on. The second link goes directly to the share the toolkit area. And we've created for you, as you've requested, many of you, we've created materials for your newsletters, your emails, your listservs, your social media, and your presentations. And people need, I mean, marketing, the research is clear. People need to see things at least 3 times, oftentimes, before they pay attention. Some of you just registered today, which or yesterday, which means that you only registered after you saw the invitation the third time, like 30 of you. So that's why we have these materials for you, so you will use them in multiple ways. And we'll get into the details of those later on. But first, I want to introduce the speakers to you. So I'm Deborah Rowe. I've been president for 20 years of the U.S. Partnership for Education for Sustainable Development, and also working with the occupational deans and workforce deans of community colleges across the country at NCWE. I helped with IREC to start the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance. Larry Zarker is the CEO, the head of Building Performance Institute, and on his team is Nancy Kaplan, Director of Workforce Development, and Kelly Carey, Marketing and Communications Specialist. Nancy and Kelly were really instrumental. They put in endless hours to make these recruitment materials quality and come to life for you. And then on the U.S. partnership team is Angela Sun and Sarah Hill, both fellows and doing outstanding work for the U.S. Partnership for Education for Sustainable Development. We have one more speaker today who's actually going to go next, and that's Kristen. Kristen is from Heinemeyer from Frontier Energy, and she's got materials on how to recruit into HVAC. So I'm going to hand it over to her for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to talk more about the toolkit, how you can use it, and what our ask is for you and the input we want from you. We will be interactive in a little while, but let's start with Kristen. Go ahead, Kristen.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that introduction, and hopefully you're seeing my slides.
We are.
Awesome. Technology is working. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. I'm going to be talking about one example of recruitment. So we're going to be talking today about toolkits and frameworks and so forth. And we thought it'd be good to start with just like one example of something that's out there now, working on recruiting people into the HVAC trades. So just a little bit of introduction. It's a DOE funded program. Frontier Energy is managing it with some great contribution from Engaged Strategies and iHockey. The goal is to enable contractors and technicians to improve the performance of residential HVAC systems. And you'll notice I didn't say heat pumps. It's not commercial, it's not controls. It's really focused on learning the basics for improving HVAC performance. If you don't know the basics, I don't care what kind of advanced training you're getting, you're not going to do things correctly. So what does that mean? That means using tools to take accurate readings and assess whether you took them correctly, interpreting the results, figuring out what it means, what kind of options it suggests for homeowners, and then finally communicating to the homeowners. If we do nothing else right, I want to enable contractors and technicians to communicate to homeowners what needs to be done. And oh, by the way, we also have a goal of promoting a fruitful career path for a broader and more diverse set of workers. So it's kind of multiple goals there. We are doing a pilot of this in the Inland Empire region of Southern California. Those of you who aren't familiar with the geography around here, it's the southeastern part of the state. It's very, very hot. It's San Bernardino and Riverside counties. It's a large portion of disadvantaged communities, majority Latinx, and statistics have found that fewer than 25% of Latino men in the region have any kind of college. There's a lot of unemployment. It's a hot climate with a lot of heat, a lot of health effects from that, as we're all seeing right now. Definitely wildfire issues. I believe there's a big wildfire going on down there right now that's affecting Riverside, so we'll keep them in our thoughts and prayers. But at the same time, it's got low land prices, so people are coming out from LA that can't afford to live in LA anymore. So it's a boom area for new construction. So there's really a need for a lot of skilled workers. So that's where we're piloting this. So I always show this cartoon when I start this because we tend to think of this career pipeline that we're pumping people through. This guy's saying, mind you, I'm not responsible for the entire pipeline, just the section that flows through my office. And that really is what we're trying to get at in this project. We're trying to look at the whole pipeline. we're not looking at just one section. If we do just one training and we ignore the fact that these people have lives, they have careers that brought them there, things that are going to happen afterwards, we need to look at the entire path. And oh, by the way, it's not a pipeline. These are people. They're on paths. They're not being pumped through a pipeline. So I like to remind myself of that every now and then. So the one thing I like to tell my kids all the time is that life is not, I'm here, I want to end up there. It's a straight path. There's lots of little side paths. There's, cul-de-sacs and loops, and you have to go back. And there's lots of different things that people can do. So we're looking at this path in context. So here's the different components of our program. Number one is recruitment strategies. That's what I'm going to talk about today. So how do we get students into these programs, into the community colleges? Once they're there, we've got some programming to help enhance the training for the students. So we're making use of a tool called Visual Service that allows all the instrument readings to come in one place. It's a great productivity tool, but it also happens to be a great training tool. So you can see when this goes up, that's going down, and that's bad. And so it's a great training tool. So we're using that in the training for the students. We're also doing a career pathways program, which is a mentoring program to help these students, as they're leaving the community college, as they become job seekers and looking for their first job, so that we're providing that mentoring. And these technicians that we're training are serving as the mentors for that program. So we have a great training that's being delivered by iHockey. And again, it uses the Visual Service platform, technical and sales training for incumbent contractors and technicians. So, we're looking at this whole path beginning to end, and hopefully it ends with HVAC performance. And I want to emphasize that we have a great industry and community advisory committee. I've seen several names today of people that are here from that committee. Thank you for your help with all this, but that helps to make sure that we're fitting this into the industry, we're fitting it into the community, providing solutions that are really needed. So I'm only going to be talking today about the recruitment strategies part of it, because that's what this webinar is about. So we are working on a social media campaign that's going to be launching very soon. It's going to have various phases. We're kind of getting stuff out there. We're going to have paid ads. We're going to have organic posts. We'll be reviewing things once a week, making sure we're hitting the mark, and then revising things as we move along. Got lots of support from our advisory committee and friends and family. I'm going to get my kids to post on their social media, because nobody wants to hear from a 62-year-old woman. They want to hear from, a 20-some about, this is an interesting career. And maybe you can help too. And I'll give you some links in it at the end of this. So I've got this social media campaign.
During high school, I did not really know what I wanted to do. I worked in fast food,
example of kind of
and I did that for about a year. And then that's when I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I got into a warehouse, going to 3 years. And I would really like a more stable career. The way I found HVAC was because I looked at all the things I like to do and matched that with a career. So I like to be outside. I like to work with tools. I don't really see myself doing an office job. I kind of got interested more in HVAC because it has a little bit of everything. What advice I would give my younger self is, even though I'm a female, the trades is definitely an option. I'm really enjoying this program. I kind of want to take in everything, whether it's commercial, residential, or controls. I kind of want to learn it all.
So this, I think, is a great example of one of the students at Riverside City College. We interviewed a bunch of students and had some pretty high quality videos made, and these just awesome testimonials of how did I get here? How's it working out for me? What are my plans? Which I think are going to speak better to career searchers than, again, having someone like me saying, hey, you should do this, Department of Energy thinks you should do this, someone that kind of looks like me. And along that line, we have a series of videos. Well, I'll talk about it in a minute, but we have some, we're really emphasizing reaching out to women and to veterans and job changers, people that are changing their careers later in life. So those are the sectors that we really want to reach out to, because they tend to be overlooked, particularly in HVAC. So once the social media gets out there, that looks like me, and I'm looking for a job. How can I learn more? So Hopefully they'll click on the link, that'll take them then to our landing page, which is where they get access to the information they need. This is a landing page. If you see a woman video, you'll probably be taken to this page. If you see a video in Spanish, you'll be taken to a page in Spanish. If you respond to a veterans video, you'll taken to a page that's kind of veteran centric. And it's got resources on there. And of course, this page is designed to be looked at on a phone because most people access social media on their phones. So one more example of I'll just show you.
I got introduced to HVAC because I had gotten laid off this past December. I was a police officer for 21 years. So instead of just sitting at home and not doing anything, what can I do? Something that's fun, something that's where I learn stuff and I can apply stuff. HVAC seemed to be it. You learn a little bit of electrical because...
So that's another great example of, the students in this program. So you can go right now to our webpage or to our YouTube channel. We've got all those videos there if you want to share them in any way that helps you recruit people. We've got all these testimonials from the students, also the contractors that got trained. We also have some videos that are paid actors, oh, I'm a veteran, I'm an HVAC person, I'm really happy, that kind of thing. And those again are available both in English and Spanish for our community. That was important. So other things on the landing page are FAQs. These are questions. We probed our advisory committee and said, what kind of questions are students really wondering if they're thinking about going into this? So we've got answers to a bunch of questions that we think are likely to be asked. Also, the heart of the landing page is these links here, these tabs. Get information about training programs, labor unions and apprenticeships, and other resources. And they are specific to Inland Empire, or if they click on California, if they're in California outside Inland Empire, there's a different set of links, or if they're outside California. This being DOE funded, we have to go beyond just our pilot community. So just a little bit of example, Inland Empire training programs, there's 3 colleges, Riverside City College, San Bernardino, and Palm Desert. And we gave them links to the HVAC programs. We didn't just want to say, hey, sanbernardino.edu, good luck, go away there. We want to take them directly to the HVAC programs and directly to application information. For the California site, we have links to all of the community colleges in California that have HVAC programs. And in the USA, obviously, we can't have a link to every community college, but we have information about how to seek that out. Labor unions, it takes them directly to their local. For California or the USA, it takes them to a page where they can reach out then to get to their local. There's way too many locals to have a list of all of them, but it says a little bit about the different unions and how to reach their locals. And then other resources, we've got community-based organizations, we've got United Way, Goodwill, they've got great job placement programs, other kinds of programs, also trade organizations, the industry organizations and their local representation, and also veterans organizations. Veterans have great programs with Wounded Warriors programs, other veterans programs. So we've got links to either local or national or state. So that is the landing page, and that, again, I'll provide a link. In fact, I have links right here. If anyone wants to, share that landing page with entities outside this group, that would be great. But I'm going to paste in the chat these links. We really encourage you to follow, like, and share all of our social media channels, and I'll have the links to those. And then when you see a new post from us, please like it, please share it. This will help, make your social media more vibrant and get out to more people. The landing page, our program website has a lot of the course materials and other program docs. Visual service, got a link to that. And please reach out to me by email if you want me to send you an email every time we've got something new that comes out. So with that, thank you very much. And I'll paste all those links in the chat as soon as I get offline. And then not sure who I'm handing it off to, but I'll hand it back to Deborah probably.
Yeah, that's you're handing it back to, and thank you so very much. That was great, as you can see, quite relevant, right? So now just going back to where we kind of left off, right? We have this, and just so you know, Kristen's links, not every single one that she's sharing it with you right now, but the main links to the recruiting materials and to the webpage are included in our toolkit because we recognized it as a useful resource. So now, once again, when she's gets done putting her links in, we'll put these two links in again, so you can get to the landing page of the toolkit and click on the share the toolkit button, or just go directly to the share the toolkit. And these include materials for your newsletters, emails, listservs, social media, and presentations. So we're giving the gifts to you. We want you to give the gifts to others. Now, here's another key slide for today. Please repost these posts. Some of you came to us and said, great, you've got materials where we can create our own newsletters, our emails, posted on our listservs, but don't you just have some social media posts you've done that we can like and share and repost? And so, yes, we do. We put together a set of those you can see on multiple platforms. Those are also going into the chat for you. So strongly encouraging you, you don't need to save the whole chat, but do save this slide, chat materials, and the last one that's going in as well, that gets you to the share the toolkit page. And right now, what I'm going to do is hand it over to the CEO of Building Performance Institute, Larry Zucker. He's going to talk about the collaboration. Then we're going to describe the toolkit a little bit, and then we're going to get into more specific strategies and tools and gifts for you. So, Larry Zucker, go ahead.
Thank you, Deborah. And I would like to give Deborah a big round of thanks for approaching us about collaborating on this project. And you know, she came to us and said, would you like to do this? And it's no secret that the workforce is aging out and that we need to do as much as we possibly can to bring in a younger, more diverse workforce into the industry. So we're very thankful also to Pacific Northwest National Labs and DOE for funding this project and allowing us to put together this toolkit that we can share with the industry. One more word, we had a tremendous amount of support from our advisors. Many of you are on the call today, and I really want to take a moment to thank you, our advisors, our partners, and our pilot sites. Thank you so much. It would not have been the same quality of a toolkit that got produced if you hadn't been there to help us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Kaplan to talk a little bit more about BPI and what we do in terms of workforce development. Nancy?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Larry. For those of you who are not familiar with the Building Performance Institute, usually referred to as BPI, we're a not-for-profit organization established in 1993, so we've been around for a while. BPI came out of the desire within the weatherization community to establish clear standards that could be referenced by anyone doing weatherization work. And it also established credentials for professionals doing the work so they could be recognized as being those professionals. As with the other trades, it's been mentioned previously, we've seen a lot of people retiring, and we see a huge need to grow the workforce. So we are collaborating with partners, including the U.S. Partnership for Education for Sustainable Development, IREC, others not mentioned, to raise awareness of these career opportunities. We're grateful to be part of the development of this extremely useful kit, to be able to house it on our website, and to make it available for free. So please take advantage of it. And from there, I'll hand it back to Deb. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Nancy. It's always such a pleasure. You make it fun. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the U.S. partnership. So, you know, for 20 years, we have run networks of over 60 national and international higher ed associations. We're really nudgers. We convene the leaders from first across the country, and then we're doing it internationally, to catalyze the kinds of initiatives we need to have a thriving future even in what's going to be a climate unstable world, and to then communicate about those initiatives across all sectors of society. So we have a business sector, K-12 sector, a higher ed sector, community sector, youth sector, et cetera, and they all have initiatives for a sustainable, clean energy future. And just to give you an example, last year we did a series of solution summits. We went to the clean energy ministers and we said, you need to do some stuff on workforce. We're not seeing it. They said, great, help us do that. So we did a series of solution summits. We looked at what's going on that is successful in India, in the European Union, and the US somewhat, around the world, so we could share resources. We had participants from over 100 countries. But we're really excited to be doing this one. The last project that we did with DOE was getting information on heat pumps and energy efficiency into the textbooks that the HVAC educators and the home performance educators use, so that we can make sure that the students are getting what they need, so the employees and the companies are doing the right stuff. And so then now this on recruitment. So glad you're here. Why is recruitment so important? Like, I'm already retired. Why in the world am I doing this? Well, because the demand is so high and people don't even know about these career pathways. And the gap is so large that it's really a problem. We aren't going to be able to meet our science-based goals to make our buildings more energy efficient and to get cleaner energy onto the grid and onto buildings directly and in communities unless we get this workforce that we need. So I've been working on climate change for 50 years. And when we look at the science-based targets for 2030, it comes down to us, you guys. It comes down to residential. We're not doing commercial. Commercial is important too, and some industrial, but really getting these buildings to be more energy efficient and to decarbonize them. So that's why we're here, because we are the low-hanging fruit that'll help us meet the science-based targets by 2030. So that way we can then do the tougher lifts of like how we're going to handle airline fuel, for example. So we got to do this work. Okay, so that's what the toolkit looks like. The newest version has a slightly different front page, but it's beautiful. Once again, that's the main landing page, putting that into the chat. Please copy it. Please go there if you haven't gone there yet. And then click on the Share the Toolkit button that is there. And the Share the Toolkit button will give you all sorts of strategies. We'll get into some details on that in just a little bit. If you're not in the home performance field, you're not in the heat pump or heat pump water heater field, these recruiting materials are also useful to you in related fields. So maybe it's around financing for the clean energy transition. Maybe it's around the solar or the wind, etc. Closed loop groundwater heat pumps, whatever it may be. Take a look at these materials and they can be useful to you. And as Larry Zucker already mentioned, the contact is very vetted. Thank you to all of those on the call today who are on our advisory committee. You can see the buckets of areas we pulled people from. Thank you to the pilots who did the actual market research and gave us statistically significant results on some of their efforts. And thank you to the engagement partners who then used the updated materials and gave additional feedback so that we could give you something that really is vetted, so you didn't have to guess as much. You knew more about what would work. All of them provided feedback on this toolkit. The toolkit includes two major areas: original content that you can brand and customize. So we thought about having a main page that everybody goes to, and we thought, oh, the employers are going to want people to go to their page. The educators are going to want people to go to their page. So we created for you the outreach materials, social media, vetted messages, photos and graphics and strategies that you can use and then get people to come in your door. We also then included other resources that enhance this. So we've got the links to some of the training and education materials that you can use if you need them. We also have links on how to grow your business. And so that's in there as well for complementary resources, and how to retain your workers once you've got them. The students and the workers, you don't want to lose them. So we have a section on that as well. We spent a lot of time identifying what these key messages are that seem to work the best on recruiting people in. And we have sections in the toolkit that explains them, gives varieties of versions of them. So like be a community hero, we found with the high schoolers, it's better to say be a community superhero. Who knew, right? Kind of makes sense once you know it, but we had to do the research to find that out. So these are the 7 message areas that we identified, and the toolkit has more information on it. Just to give you some taste from our table of contents, and you can see there's a lot in that table of contents, so we've made it easy for you to use. We'll tell you about that in a minute. You know, counselors and career advisors are really either a gateway or a place of welcome and encouragement into the fields that we are working in. And so, how do you connect with them effectively? We have key strategies for you on that. Also, instead of you having to pay for the marketing and the outreach, how do you use other organizations' reach? Also, how do you earn free TV and radio and podcast and other types of media coverage? Newspapers. Those are based on real stories of what we've done that's worked. And then how do you attract workers from adjacent industries who already have a more advanced skill set? How do you deal with the parents? Hey, I want my student to go to a 4-year university so that in his junior year or her junior year or their junior year, they can take a course on sustainability and then realize that they really want to go into the fields like ours. But the parents say, no, you can't because you need a university degree. How do you address that? So there's a section on that. How do you lower the barriers to learning and employment? And for those who are really fired up about this climate change urgency that we have climate change centric materials as well. So that's just one section of the table of contents. But then we also have these complementary strategies. I already talked about how contractors can grow their businesses. We also have key resources for community organizations, for nonprofits, for environmental justice organizations, for the communities that are getting the funding to put in the renewables in the programs that are coming out of the IRA and more. And traditional anti-poverty kinds of community organizations, key resources. And then I mentioned the education and training materials. We do have testimonials as well, and we link to some of your testimonials and others in the industry. And then one of our contractors on our advisory committee said, Deborah, this is overwhelming, too much stuff. You got to make it easier for me. So we developed a checklist, and I will now hand it over to Sarah Hill, who will describe this checklist and how you can use it to make everything easier. Sarah?
Thank you so much, Deborah. To most effectively use the toolkit, we've created a self-assessment tool called the Recruitment Checklist, included in Appendix D of the toolkit, where you can keep track of your recruitment efforts and improvement over time. The checklist is designed to be paired with the recruitment toolkit, with specific sections that align with the toolkit, titled the same as they are in the recruitment toolkit table of contents, and as active clickable links back to the section if you view it on your computer. This checklist will help you easily and most effectively use the entire toolkit. As you see, with the checklist, you'll rate how frequently your organization has used a given strategy, with the frequency rating being 0 for not at all, 1 for once, 2 for occasionally, and 3 for actively or regularly. This rating scale is highlighted on the first page of the checklist for your convenience. The checklist then also has space so you can describe what your organization has done related to the given strategy, as well as what your organization plans to do, or what effective next steps you can take to fully use the strategy. Remember, only you will have access to the data you enter, unless you choose to share it with others. Specifically, this toolkit focuses on the major areas of the toolkit. This checklist focuses, on the major areas of the toolkit, including customizable recruitment materials, key recruitment strategies, complementary essential strategies and resources, and building consumer demand and growing your organization. We are trying to make improvements to this toolkit if we can, and so you can stay updated. I'll pass it back to Deborah now so you can learn how.
So there you go. You got a toolkit that makes it easy for you to keep track, to see what you've used, and to design next steps. We created a tiny URL sign up sheet because we are going to do some updates. And we know that for some of your contractors, your educators, they need to come to a workshop so that we can walk them through the steps and they walk out with a recruitment plan. Otherwise, they'll just look at it and go, boy, that'd be nice, but I don't have time for that. And then they start this downward spiral of not having the students or the employees they need. So if you are running an association or some kind of a network where you've got lots of contractors, of lots of educators, and you want us to look at coming in and doing that workshop for you, please let us know. You'll get our contact information in just a little bit, or you can use that email address, marketing@bpi.org. And then if you just want to sign up for the updates that we're going to have related to this whole initiative, use that tiny URL or the longer version if for some reason the tiny URL doesn't work on your computer with all of your, barriers, firewalls. Also, for those of you who don't use Google, like I know Department of Energy and NYSERDA, some other organizations like don't use Google. So you can just email marketing@bpi.org and say, please put us on your updates list. So now we want to explain how different types of organizations might use the toolkit. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela, who's been just fantastic on the team and is doing her own implementation acceleration work. So Angela, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Deborah. And as Deborah mentioned, I am going to take you all through a few examples together that will help to hopefully demonstrate how different types of organizations can use this toolkit. So now let's dive in. Let's start with an example of a training organization. Let's say a technical high school, community college, or a nonprofit offering training. And your goal is to recruit more students to come and take your classes in heat pumps or heat pump water heaters or HVAC. First, you should open the checklist in Appendix D, and quick hint, every single one of these slides will begin with this because we really want to drive home how effective this will be as a map for you all for how to use this toolkit to identify the relevant sections of the toolkit for you. Then you would pick the relevant messages and graphics. Here, you might want to think about what is the age and demographic of your potential student body? What do they care about? Which of these messages that Deborah highlighted do you think will be more effective with them? Or do you want to maybe pick 2 or 3 of them and test them out in your context? After picking the right materials, you'll need to get the word out. The toolkit has tested strategies that have worked well for others, like reaching out to career advisors and asking them to present your courses, or posting and announcing that you have an open house. Lastly, you might want to think about then how to make your information welcoming and inclusive, whether it's being intentional about the graphics you're using and highlighting, or thinking through what types of information you're including about your courses. So for example, if you are offering wraparound services or scholarships, you would want to make sure you include that information in all of your materials. Now let's take another look, and let's say you are a contractor. Similarly, you would open the checklist and choose the materials that you think would work best for now your job seeker population. The way you get your word out, however, might be different. You could call local high schools and community colleges to attend their career fairs to connect directly with your recruits, or even host some workshops at schools yourselves. The toolkit contains a lot more ideas for contractors, and if you're an association of contractors that's attending, we really encourage you to take a look at that section. And lastly, as an employer, you probably want to think about how to improve your employee retention, not just recruitment, specifically thinking about how to establish a welcoming culture and how to establish clear career paths at your company. And there is a step-by-step best practices guide that can be found in the toolkit. So as usual, please reference the checklist to find your way to that section. And then last but not least, let's imagine you're now an academic and career advisor. You would, of course, open the checklist. And there's actually a special call out for career advisors on page 2. And you would examine which messages would work well with your student body. Can you think back to any of your students who demonstrated interest in doing something related to climate and sustainability? Or maybe simply they just want a good job. Then you can go to the section titled Explain the Career Paths to Motivate Interest, where there's a whole suite of tools and career maps that you can start using right now to help students navigate their own career in this field. So I hope this walkthrough of these use cases gives you a slightly better sense of how you can start using the toolkit today. And now I'll hand it over to Kelly to go over the customizable materials that we're here to gift you all today.
Thanks, Angela. Hi, everybody. So good to see you today. I just want to give a quick shout out. I see a lot of folks in attendance today who are actually part of the creation of this toolkit. And I want to thank you all very much for your participation. It really, this project could not have happened without your involvement. I see a lot of folks from Good Education Group out there, Sabrina Davis from Lewis and Clark Community College, Alex Trachtenberg from Hummingbird Firm, Bruce Madalik, EGIA Foundation was very generous to us throughout this project. Brent Kosick and the Service Year Alliance, Luis Sanchez at Community Research Project, and Pepper Hunziker and Tracy Wallace, Green Careers Dallas, I think. Thank you all so much for your involvement, participation. You really made this project happen, and we're very grateful.
Hey, Kelly, if you can talk a little louder, I think it would be good. Okay, we can hear you, but it's a little quiet. Yeah.
I can, and I'm going to hold my microphone up like this as well. Is that better?
Not really, actually. Maybe a little louder talking, but keep going. Right. We can hear you. It's just a little quiet.
All right. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the kinds of actual materials that we created for your use. Angela covered the strategies very well. The toolkit is your guide to details, but the actual materials that you will use, they live on the recruitment page, recruitment tools page of bpi.org. The first sort of class of materials that we created are social media graphics. These are co-brandable templates with lots of space for you to use for your logo, your graphics, your training details, times and places, and all those things. We have formatted them for the common social media platforms, and there is a collection of graphics for each of the themes that Deb discussed earlier. We developed those themes through talking to those partners that I just mentioned and many others. You know, what is it that gets people to respond to you when you've got people in your program? What do they say about why they're here? That's what you see when you look at those social media posts. So the way to use these is to download them from our website and use any photo editor. If you're posting directly to Instagram, you can use Instagram's photo editing tools. Any sort of program that you typically use to create social media graphics and photos, that's what you would use. It's nothing, no special tools needed. We did create editable Canva templates for you to use. Those are accessed through the toolkit. This is the most easy and flexible way to use them. I use Canva a lot. The Canva accounts are free to nonprofits and educational institutions. Well, the basic user is free to anyone. The pro level is free to nonprofits and educational institutions. And if you don't have one yet, I really do recommend it. It's extremely easy. There are Adobe files for those of you who are sort of the heavy lifters of the graphic design world and comfortable working on a pro level. You can access those files through the toolkit, download them, and edit them as you like. If you look at the recruitment tools page of bpi.org, you will see that there are also PDF flyers that you can email or print, and there are images that are formatted to use as a virtual background or as a presentation slide. So there are many different ways to use them. Next slide. Now, one of the very first things we discovered when we began this project is that there is not a lot of great imagery for the home performance industry in particular. HVAC is not so bad. Solar is sort of the rock star of commercial stock photography for renewable energy. There are many great images of solar energy out there, not so much for home performance. And we heard really consistently that there needed to be accurate images of diverse home performance workers. As part of this campaign, we freed up funds in our budget. We commissioned a photo shoot. We worked with photographer Sydney Anderson and Wayne Metro Community Action partners located in Detroit to make this thing happen. This series of photos is free. They are very high quality images, large images at high resolution. You may download them for free and use them from our website. They are wonderful, and I hope that you have a great time using them. If you'd like to share them back with us or tag us so that we can see them, you know, we would love to see how you make use of these. We also recruited a bunch of real life employees, early to mid-career folks coming into HVAC or home performance industry to talk about why this career works for them. Wesley Booker, who you see here, is the first, and there will be more added. You can access those on the video subpage of the recruitment tools. We are really thankful to everyone who took part in making these things happen, and we hope you have a great time using them. Back to Deb.
Thank you so much. I really liked how on the graphics it showed that there was all this white space at the bottom, right? Where anybody can customize and put their own materials on there and take the potential students to their landing pages or the potential workers to their organizational pages where you can do job postings, etc. So we also, like I said, compiled other resources from great places. We didn't want to redo it if it was already done. Here's a wonderful toolkit. It comes from the National Organization for Occupational and Workforce Deans at community colleges throughout the country, called the National Council for Workforce Education. And this is on strategies to recruit more Black, Indigenous, and people of color, that's what BIPOC is, right? And women to these areas. And it's not just the ones we're talking about today, but the whole green skilled trades, crafts, and STEM job training. So that is also in the toolkit. We found some great things that NYSERDA was doing, the New York Energy Agency. And so we included those as well. You heard that we included Kristen's stuff when she talked earlier in this session. And so there's videos, career stories, self-discovery courses, much more. That way you don't have to redo it from scratch. So, of course, none of this really makes a difference unless people know that it exists. So there's your slide again. Please go to one of these links, the first one, and then click on Share the Toolkit, or the second one that goes directly to the Share the Toolkit page. You are here for a reason. This is not a good cup of coffee today. This is for you to take action in the next few days, okay? When you go to the Share the Toolkit page, it looks like this. There actually is a little piece now at the top with all of those social media posts that you can just repost. But then below that, we have copy for you that you can then use in your emails, your listservs, your presentations, anywhere that you have communications with your networks. And remember, they'll need to see it 3 times oftentimes before they'll pay attention to it. So we have graphics that we created for you, and also specialized messages for educators, for heat pump related businesses, so you can get the employees you need, for employers in general in the field, home performance and others, and for career advisors. And if you're seeing a group that you think could use these materials that we haven't covered, let us know and we'll create customized announcements for them. You can see that we also have, if you want to do your own original social media, we've actually created the number of words so it'll fit into X or Twitter. Once again, reminding you of this key slide. It's so easy for you to just go to your communications people, or if that's you, go ahead and go to all of these links and like them and share them. Each one is a little bit different, and it'll really help to get this moving across the country. So now we want to hear from you, right? So I've got a set of questions that I would like to ask you. And the first one is, What are you most excited about using or sharing from the toolkit? So if you could just put that in the chat, what are you most excited about using or sharing from the toolkit? And LJ, if you're on, can you unmute yourself? So Lojane Davignon, who I worked with at IREC for a long time, she actually helped to get this thing going originally. I know you've had a chance to look at the toolkit. Did you want to share something that you're excited about using or sharing? I think you're working with HeatSpring now, right? Are you there?
Yeah, HeatSpring and others. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I was just saying in the chat, thanks so much, folks, for bringing these to the community. I know for our purposes, things like the vetted messaging and the access to the photos and the different designs are particularly helpful. But also just connecting with this community on this call today is helpful in seeing who else is interested and engaged in recruitment activities. You know, as you were saying earlier, it's really about the coordination, and we really appreciate all the work that you folks are trying to do to kind of herd us in the same direction. This is really helpful. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Yeah, my pleasure. So LG and I were the ones who went to the clean energy ministers and said, you got to do something with workforce. And that did this work on the international level. It was a real pleasure working with her. So Dan said in the chat, and a handful of people have agreed with him, that sharing with partner groups that help with recruitment as they deliver the training is going to be really useful. And great, that's exactly how we want you to use it, right? Is to share out with other groups. That's fantastic. Okay, so now, we really need feedback, okay? If this is working, great. If it's not, we need to know. So we need your help to distribute these recruitment tools and gifts for your organization and your networks. Can you just put a yes in the chat if you're going to help? Just so I know. Just go ahead and put a yes in the chat. Just, you know, it also gives us some kind of a track record of who's already doing it and who we need to nudge. If you don't want me nudging you, but only put the yes in the chat if you're actually going to do it. Okay.
I love to see all the yeses coming in.
Yeah, that's great. But there's a lot of people here who are going to get phone calls from me or emails, multiple ones. Isn't your inbox busy enough already? So go ahead and put a yes in the chat, really, if you are going to do it. And if you aren't going to do it, then we want to hear from you about why. So now what we're going to do is ask, what questions or comments do you have? And if you didn't put yes into the chat, what's holding you back? So if you could please put that into the chat, and then we'll also, while you're putting into the chat what's holding you back, or you can go ahead and put that yes in if it's true, only if it's true, right? No blowing smoke here, right? Are there, I think there were some questions, right, from when Kristen was talking that we maybe want to get answered. So
There
Sarah,
was one question that was not answered in chat, which was, what is the pathway for existing HVAC contractors learning to maximize system performance, particularly contractors of color?
Okay, can you just read that one more time? Because I was looking at the other chat stuff. Say it again.
Yep. What is the pathway for existing HVAC contractors learning to maximize system performance, particularly contractors of color?
Yeah, so Jamie, you might want to answer that too, but I just before this webinar, I was on the phone with Energy Star, and they have an effort to reach out to contractors and to explain to them the value and the importance and the strategies and tools to put heat pumps, heat pump water heaters at the center, and home performance at the center of their product offerings. And to stop offering products that are just going to produce more ill health, more environmental problems, more economic problems too. So we are working with them to distribute these recruitment materials to them, but also helping them, and they are focusing on specializing, and PNNL is also focusing on specializing materials for contractors. And you all know what it's like, right? Some of this is a little bit like the Wild West out there with residential HVAC contractors and with home performance contractors. So what that means is it's just more effort. I would also really appreciate one or two of you, well, before I hand it over to Jamie, you actually said, we're going to share this with this network. So if you're going to do that, then I don't need to, which would be wonderful because you're already the inside person. So if you could please let us know, what network are you going to share it with? That would really help us to plan what our follow-up is going to be with all of these different networks. So please take a minute to put that into the chat now. And Jamie, I'm going to hand it over to you in terms of contractors. Did you have things you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'll just add a bit of a shout out again to the Building Science Education website. I'm going to put a link. It's not a beautiful link. To our open source training modules on HVAC, specifically focusing on heat pump, cold climate applications, inverter-driven systems, quality install. I think in the next month or two, are going to be releasing a new module on commissioning and focusing on all the aspects of quality install. And anyway, that is not specifically oriented towards persons of color, but definitely is freely available. And if you're incorporating that into training, or you're working with training organizations that are covering these kind of topics, we would love to get you Energy Skilled recognized, which will hopefully get those training organizations more integrated with state rollouts of federal incentive money, both on the workforce side and then also on the individual rebate, getting different contractors trained up. So I know that, uh, these funds are part of the Biden's Justice 40 initiative. And so we're a big priority is reaching underrepresented communities, disadvantaged communities. And so yeah, I get extra bonus points if you all who are serving communities that are disadvantaged, persons of color, women, etc. I get lots of bonus points for engaging with you all, and also just I sleep better at night. So yeah, definitely get those resources. I'm going to put them on the chat right now. Those are the resources. And then also talk to me about getting Energy Skilled recognized, or if you have other random questions about upskilling in general, I'm happy to chat more. You all should have my email because I've been harassing you by email for the past few weeks. Thanks for dealing with that. I didn't get reported to a spam bot or anything like that as far as I know. So yeah, really appreciate you all coming.
Yeah, so your invitations that you got were from Jamie. So if you want to reach back out to her about any of this, just reply to the invitation that you got. And then also in the toolkit, we do have, there's a women's organization that's about promoting women into HVAC. So we've got resources there. There's also minority business organizations where we can reach out to HVAC and home performance contractors there. So I think that helps with answering. And some people have put some answers into the chat as well who are focusing on that work. But thank you for continuing to put in the chat so we won't do redundant efforts of who you're going to share this with. I love it that somebody's going to share it with USGBC leadership. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And networks of employers, that makes a whole lot of sense too. But who else? What are the other networks that you're a part of? I have been like a squirrel gathering nuts. I have been gathering contact information for decades. So I have a lot of groups that I can share it with, but there's no way that I can get it out to everybody who needs it without you all weighing in on this. Okay. Yeah, RSES chapter, fantastic. You know, there's also no hierarchy. My mother told me that early on. So there's no problem with you calling the national organization, saying, hey, I've got great resources to share. And look at who you look like then. You're the gift giver. So utility program implementers, that's great. Yep. Other networks and also other questions. Yeah. So if you have a connection with the state energy office, if you could help us get it out to them, that would be very helpful because they're designing programs right now. They're giving away money right now. And they may not think of this unless we share it with them. And there's no way I can do all 50 states. Yeah, we're trying through the National Energy Offices group, but we're not getting out to everybody. We're nudging. Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Mojan, if you can help with that, that would be just great. Okay, what copy of the webinar is going to be available? Yes. We will send it out along with the follow-up links, of course, that we want you to use, but please go ahead and download those from the chat as well so you can get started because it might take us a week. I have to go be a grandma for a couple days. So after that, I'll get you your follow-up email. Other questions, comments, time for you to unmute and talk and connect and brainstorm. What could we have done better? What else should we be doing?
We also got a question in chat just on tips for building social media platforms.
Tips for building your social media platform? Yeah. So like, what do you want to do? No, you want to have a whole workshop? I mean, Sarah's a real expert at that. We even have in our youth sector of the US partnership, we have a thing called the influencer campaign. We identify influencers who have tens of thousands of followers. And then we go to them and say, we know that you care about the environment. Would you please share this information? And then we get it out to tens of thousands of followers who we didn't connect with before. I also have all sorts of listservs. I own some, like the sustainability learning for colleges and universities listserv. It's got 500 colleges and universities on it, but we've got listservs that cover close to all 4,000 that are in this country. But there's so much to tell you about, metrics and boosting but there's also courses out there on how to build your social media. I guess if we knew more of them, we could help more on what specifically you're looking for. Other comments, questions? Things you want to say about yourself so other people can hear about it? Now's your time. Somebody's liked the word. Thank you. Well, then think about bringing us in, right? Think about bringing us into your networks and letting us do a workshop that'll help make these resources come alive. Thank you. Yep, and there's the link again. Sarah has it. Thank you, Sarah. And you click on that link and then scroll down and you'll see share the toolkit. Okay. I'm going to give you back your time. Anybody who wants to stay on can stay on. I'm going to end the recording at this point. And